What is up, YouTube? Johnny B here again today, and we're gonna be bringing you a video on one of the things that I do during the day. I guess just like a normal work day. Typically, this is a little bit of a side job. The main business is obviously, car sales. I use, and then I fix up, what I can, put it up on the YouTube channel. So that's what you guys are seeing today. Is a customer's car that got in an accident, and they hit me up to fix it. So not necessarily to paint it quite yet. They're trying to debate whether they want to paint it. They might want it wrapped or something. So they just want me to fix the whole front end and get the car back up to running conditions to where the radiator's not broken, the AC works, the hood closes, I guess you can say. It's a normal car to make it look normal, even if it's just black pieces. So let me show you guys what it looks like. So here is the hood, and it is a taco. The bumper is destroyed. The radiator and condenser are smashed all the way back, including the fans. Then you have headlight smashed. The frame is perfect. That didn't even get touched. So the front crash bar, perfect. Fender smashed. Door survived. This side, same thing. Fender smashed. Door survived. So this is just your typical low car accident here. You can see smashed up the top of the core support, smashed up the air filter, which that's about it. That's about the extent. If I have all the parts, I can usually get it done in a day. I have most of the parts ordered, and the only thing I'm missing is the hood and the headlights. And the reason I don't have those two is because the customer is going to be bringing those. They found a hood and they bought some nice aftermarket headlights that they want me to install. I already ordered the bumper, fenders, headlight brackets, fender brackets, the grill's missing, so I ordered the grill. I have all those parts, so since I have them, I'm gonna start tearing this apart. The car actually still drives like this. I drove it in here, so that's gonna be something that's good about the car. And we're just gonna go ahead and remove it all. First thing I'm gonna do is remove the hood. I use this 4 12mm bolts. Here I have my gun with the 12mm socket and one hand, and the other hand I'm gonna have to use for the gun, and then I'm gonna remove the hood. Got the hood off, and I don't know why, but every time I see the hood like that, it makes me just want to straighten it out. There we go, good as new. So now that we got the hood off, we took off the bumper, took off the broken headlights. This is what we're left with. One of the things that I want to remove now are the fenders on both sides, and then after that we should be able to start removing this like central area here, including the core support and probably the air intake, just to see what's underneath here and then what needs to be replaced. But so far I think those is going to be like the only things. It's a fairly easy job. And after that I'm gonna need to remove the crash bar, because the crash bar actually holds in the core support a bit where those 4 bolts are at right here. So I'm gonna go ahead, remove the fenders now. And actually, I think I already removed the bolts off of this one. There we go. Look at that. Fenders off. These are actually the OEM fenders, so it's kind of sad that I have to be removing OEM fenders, but they're too damaged. Might as well just replace them with some new ones. So now that we got the fenders removed, I actually got the hood in. So I just went ahead and threw the hood on, make it easier, get it out of the way. It's just there already. I do need to remove the core support, and to remove the core support, there are some spot welds. There's one here, and then there's one right there, and that's gonna remove the spot welds from that section. And then this core support is actually bolted with 2 bolts underneath the crash bar. So you gotta remove these 4 bolts for the crash bar on both sides. Remove that. There's 2 10mm bolts that are holding it in. And then the last thing that's going to be holding it in are going to be 2 more bolts that are going to be this little support bar that are bolted down to the frame down there. 2 12mm bolts. So you loosen those up. Obviously, spot welds on that side too, and the 2 10mm on this side after removing the crash bar, and that will come out. So let's go ahead and do that. So I got the core support off, and I went ahead and removed the radiator and the fan shroud. This radiator all beat up, and then I have the old AC condenser right there, and I went ahead and installed the new one. So got the fan shroud fans, the radiator and the condenser. The lines actually survived, so I left those. And then this I think it's a cam sensor, was also busted right here, so I went ahead and replaced it with one that I had. Let me show you guys here. That's typical. These break really easily here, to the point where there's a company that makes aftermarket parts that cover this to protect this from getting damaged like that. Obviously this is only going to get really damaged in the event of an accident like this, or when you are taking out your engine. Let's say you're doing a swap or you're going to build it or something. They break really easily if you're not careful. So, and the little covers make it look nice too, but replace that. You can see it's much cleaner than everything else. But so far so good. I think now at this point it's time to go ahead and grab the core support and put it on. Got the new core support in, bolted it down there right behind that. I just mocked up the crash bar, lining up the bolt holes. That's going to get bolted down. And then I also already bolted the two 12mm bolts that are down here. I've got to tighten them still. That's going to be holding up that bottom section. And then over here, it's going to need a spot weld here and a spot weld over here. And one of the ways that I do it is that there's actually paint marks where you can tell right away. Let me show you guys on the side where you can tell right away where the piece needs to be. You see how it's off right there? So you can adjust it to where that paint mark is at and then spot weld it like right on that line. So that makes it so much easier to do based off of the overspray that's there. So that way you know exactly where to put it, where it needs to go, and if it's gonna line up every single time. So that's really good. If you wanna be extra careful before you spot weld it there, you can go ahead and put the fenders on and all this stuff. Make sure everything lines up first, and then you're gonna have to remove everything again because that's underneath the fender to be able to spot weld it. But most of the time, if you want to save yourself some time, as long as you line it up to where the paint is messed up or the paint is like missing from that area, you can tell right away where it needs to be. You're gonna get it in the right, perfect spot, because it's bolting exactly where it needs to bolt over there, exactly where it needs to bolt there, exactly where it needs to bolt here. There's not really much space for error. So yeah, so that's just an option whether you guys want to like mess around with it. But as long as it's on that line, if it's not on that line, you're gonna get some hood gap, you're gonna get some fender gap, your headlights are gonna be off, your bumper's gonna be off. So just make sure you leave it, at that line that it needs to be. All right, so now that I got that all figured out, another way that we can make sure that that's perfectly straight is these pieces. These pieces are fender brackets or fender extensions, as you can see there. And these go right underneath the fender, so the fender actually bolts to the top of these, and these bolt down to the frame, so it's kind of like a bit of a spacer. As you can see here, I have installed this one, and it's got 3 bolts. It's got one there, one right here, and one right there. And you see how the last one actually bolts straight to the core support. That makes sure that you have a decent, the perfect length. If this bolt isn't going in, that means either this is too short or too long. You know what I mean? It's in the wrong spot, pretty much. And that's before you go ahead and tack weld that. And you can see there that all 3 bolts are in there perfectly. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, and that's gonna let us know if this is actually in the correct spot. Obviously, I already centered it with the overspray that's there, and that's gonna let us know if this is all gonna line up properly. So if you look at this one, that one's lining up, that one's lining up, and this one isn't lining up. It looks like this bracket here needs to come in about, I'd say maybe like 1/4 inch to be perfectly straight. So that means that this part right here got a little bit bowed out, so it's kind of pulling on the core support a little bit. So all you have to do is kind of like hammer it in a little bit this way to get this bolt to line up with that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the bolts here and then try to line that up, and then we're gonna bolt it down there, because this piece is brand new. This piece should not be bent. It should all line up perfectly, and it's not doing that quite yet. Here are the new fenders. This is gonna be the left fender, and I have the right fender right here. Original, OEM parts. I love how the box says Toyota Lexus, and then the fender says Subaru. So that's just a fun fact there. And then I have my little parts area of Subaru and FRS parts right there. So these, I'm gonna go ahead and put them on now. That's probably gonna be the next step. Here's the fender. I just literally put it on. I haven't even bolted it, and everything's lining up perfect. You can see where it lines up on the top here, right there. And we hear the sides, looks like this part is a little bit bent. I'm gonna have to bring that forward to get these bolts to line up, but you know, that's to be expected. This piece, sometimes you need to replace it, but this one seems fine. I'm just gonna bend it forward to where it reaches the part of the fender, but the rest of the fender is looking amazing. Look at that. That body line looks good too. All right, so now that I got the fender bolted up, I want to make sure that all the body lines are good. And then here you have a lot of adjustment to be able to make sure that this body line looks good. So right now it looks big, but if you look at it straight from the top, just pretend I'm closing the hood right there. Look at that. Perfect body line. I haven't closed it because I don't want to clamp it down and have to go back inside and then hook it and all this other stuff. So fitment's looking great. I'm really happy with that. Now I'm going to go to the other side, see if we can get the same fitment, and then finish bolting it all down, because all I've bolted is the top section, and right here I haven't bolted the 2 bolts down there or the 2 bolts down here, which I got to line up using this big breaker bar, I guess, or this big bar right here, to kind of like bend it forward off of the tire, and now it lines up pretty good with the bolt holes that are there. So just simple tricks to get stuff. So I'm gonna go get the other fender, put it on the other side, and you know, make it look like this. Got the fenders both put on. I closed the hood and everything's lining up amazingly. Got some nice body lines on both sides. They're lining up with the doors really nicely too. Hood is, you know, clicking in and everything. You know, first try with the little method that I showed you guys. So now that I know that this is all good, I'm gonna go ahead and finish bolting up the fenders. And the only reason I'm doing all this and not going, you know, through a bunch of extra like steps to be able to remove them and paint them and all sort of stuff is because the customer's actually gonna get it wrapped, so I don't have to worry about paint, so I can skip a couple steps. Because normally if I'm gonna paint, I'm gonna go ahead and take all this apart and paint it first and then go ahead and put it back on. But normally I like to test fit before I paint. That way I don't have to be messing with it, trying to get alignment properly done when they're painted, and I can scratch them. So since there's not an issue with this, gonna put them on there properly, and then I'm gonna be done. So it's gonna be an easier job because of it. So that's how it looks now. Kind of skipped a little step, but headlights, literally just put them on. Bumper, put it on after all the core support is done. Pretty much everything lines up perfectly. It's crazy how the bumper is like sitting on there pretty good too. I just got to clip the back on both sides. The fitment is looking good. Same thing with the hood to bumper fitment, and then same thing on this side. It's all clipping in nice and smooth. I put those temporarily as some stock headlights I had, just so we can figure out, or actually we're waiting on some nice aftermarket headlights to put on this car. And there it is. Car is pretty much done. Tomorrow they're supposed to be bringing me inner fender liners so we can replace those, leave those brand new. I'm probably gonna need to I'm gonna wait on the little seal that goes in between the hood and some bumper clips that go right here on the edge. I might try to see if I can source some of these like little covers and an emblem, because the emblem got damaged in the accident from the stock bumper. But yeah, it's looking good. Looks like a normal car now. So now that I got all those parts installed, I also went ahead and ordered the little metal bracket, installed that as well with the rubber that goes there to seal the hood and bumper. I installed these are actually just like clip-on. This was on back order, so I have to wait for that till next week. So I'll probably just hand that to the customer next week. Unfortunately, it's not here yet. And one of the things that I needed to do for the customer was replace these, because these are all cracked. Look at that big old crack right there. And then on the other side, it looks like someone was working on it and couldn't get the bolt out, and they just literally destroyed this, and it's like all cracked in it regardless. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the top mounts of the struts just for safety, because I don't want to let the car go out of here and then have that issue and, you know, be in a whole another accident again because of something that I noticed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tire. I have to do the inner fender liner anyway, so removing the tire, bringing out the strut, and doing the inner fender liner at the same time. And that's gonna make it easier. So the FRS is all done. The front end is all fixed. Headlights are working. I went ahead and recharged the AC, and then I made sure that the coolant was good and made the fans work. The fuse had actually blown, and yeah, here it is. It's a little dark outside, but car is ready to cruise. So that's gonna be it for the video, guys. The customer's here to pick up her car, and it's gonna be getting ready for wrap here soon. That's all I really needed to repair the front end. And instead of painting it, which I could have painted, she decided she'd rather just pay for the wrap and just have her car looking nice. So I will link down her Instagram down below if you guys are interested in, you know, seeing the final fix, I guess you can say, because it's gonna be a different color. So stay tuned for that. And that's it for this video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, you have a great day.